Hello, good afternoon. My name's Jason Carlasio, and this is my second time doing this, so I apologize to anybody if I'm a little rusty at this. This is just I'm new at this, but I'm decided to go live because I do want to talk about conservative politics, things that are going on in society, and the show's going to be about conservative politics, mafia history, and there's quite a bit to talk about today. That's for sure. And hold on one second. And hold on one second. I apologize. And there's awful lot to talk about. Excuse me. And who we're going to be talking a lot here about who Kamala Harris picked for a candidate and the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz. Very far left, very progressive. He is very dangerous. And it's bad enough with Harris. I mean, we have a president now that's incompetent, but now we have Kamala Harris that is very, very in. Is he maybe just as bad as Biden, if not worse? So this is pretty scary that we have candidates like this out there. I think that it'd be very dangerous if they're elected. Now, the media, they're very excited. I just think right now, any polls you read, you can't believe them. Oh, Harris has gained, but I've read polls, and my favorite poll on here, by the way, is Gold Crown Politics. And you're reading about, Harris has made these gains in polls. That's not true at all. Not true at all. And if anything, it's a little bit of a bounce and this and that, but she's in her honeymoon phase. Wait to pass the convention, past Labor Day. Wait till you have the first debate. I don't like this early voting, but that's what's good. I know the first debate, and they were trying to schedule one before early voting, which it should be. I think the Democrats' strategy, like you had Hyde Biden, which you got Hyde Harris, where you're going to see where they're going to try to hide her. They're going to send out surrogates. But my answer, these surrogates are not going to be the next president, not going to be the leaders of the free world. I want to see Harris out there. I want to see her answering questions. What's going on? What are we talking about? Things of that sort. Where does she stand on the issues? That should be the big question here. But of course, the liberal media, they're not going to do that. You see Trump and Vance talking about the issues. Harris, what's her platform? Well, it's been 18 days since she's announced her candidacy. What's her platform? Where does she stand? Now, in taking Tim Walz was a big mistake. Josh Shapiro would have been a better choice. That only hurts her. It only helps Trump, which, by the way, I think Trump is still going to win the state of Minnesota. I think he's going to win a lot of states that people are going to surprise. New York, New Jersey, possibly Connecticut, where I'm from. He's going to win these states. And you're going to see some surprises. But Josh Shapiro, they said, was too conservative. And she was afraid that you'd lose the Palestinian vote. The Hamas wing of the party wasn't happy about it because he is Jewish. That was a big mistake, and of not taking Josh Shapiro, because he is pro fracking. He is definitely all for energy independence with the U.S. because Pennsylvania is an energy state, and he is all for drilling, all for fracking. The environmental wackos did not like that. They didn't like his stance there on that. They also didn't like the fact that he was Jewish. They didn't want to lose the Hamas wing, the Palestinian vote. So those were some. They actually said that he was too conservative. He wasn't far left enough, which is pretty scary that the Democratic Party's gone this way. But it was a big mistake because you should have taken somebody who was a little more moderate, pro fracking, pro energy. Which, by the way, look how much gas has gone up since Biden. Look at inflation. And you can thank Harris for this because she was the tie-breaking vote in the Senate that passed this budget to make inflation sky high, which is pretty scary. And now there are some issues I do want to talk about today. And now Harris is running mate. Remember all those riots in Minnesota and stuff? And it's pretty sad that he did nothing of that, did not call out the National Guard, did not call out the police, which is pretty sad. And I don't know why anybody would vote for him. And look at his liberal record. He's very far left. I don't know how he could say socialism is neighborly. I don't know where he comes at. I thought capitalism is neighborly. Um, and it just proves that this is actually he's a liability to her. To me, he just looks like another Joe Biden. That's all he is. And I don't see how this is going to actually gain votes. I think she's going to actually lose votes as a turnoff. Josh Shapiro would have been her best choice, but instead um, she picks the worst possible choice. And she's a San Francisco liberal, far left. Look what the damage she's done there. What somebody should talk about is she's put innocent people in jail, innocent black people in jail. There's somebody out there talking about that, which is scary. Um, and she's very inconsistent as a prosecutor. She was tougher on white collar crime than violent crime, which was scary. Crime went through the roof in San Francisco as her as prosecutor. I mean, just to look the way California, she wants to do what she did for California, she wants to do for the U.S. She was the most liberal senator in the U.S. Senate, further left than Bernie Sanders, than Elizabeth Warren. It's pretty scary, very, very scary. And what she's done for California, she wants to take California with what's gone out there and bring it to the rest of the country. Very scary. Um, and then what about immigration, illegal immigration? Doesn't talk about that. She wants these people here. She wants to give them health care. We got people here, veterans, people that need health, seniors, um, need better health care. What about taking care of the people here? She wants to bring in all these illegals here, which is pretty scary. And or just they're counting them as future votes for the Democratic Party. That's all. That's what they're looking them as. Of course, she's very anti-fracking. That's another point that to bring out too. And she's all for a single payer healthcare. Look at Canada, how bad it's up there. 2 years for hip replacement, take months to see a doctor. Where I've heard stories, people have to go out, pay out of their pocket to see the doctor. This is very, very scary. Single payer healthcare. And then how about the student loans too, where she wants this idea of free college? Well, who's going to pay for this free college? Somebody has to pay for it. No such thing as free. And what about people for the years who've paid for college too? And this myth here, about, well, you need a college degree to make money. That's not true. They're dying for people in the trades: carpenters, plumbers, electricians, masons, painters. They need them out there. They're needed out there. And yet that's not talked about. Everybody's going to go to school and take up women's studies or some far left gender studies. So somebody that went to trade school making good money has to pay for the student loans of somebody that took transgender studies. How scary is that? And that's really, really scary. And who's going to pay for all this money? I mean, the country is running a deficit. Printing money is in inflation. Just think, prices haven't gone up. Oh, it's big bad corporations. No, it's not. Prices have gone up because of the printing of money. And when more money is printed, the value of the dollar drops substantially. Just think of the economy when Trump left office, inflation was 1.9, no, under 2% it was, with it was less than, I believe, 1.9, 1.6, somewhere around there. Look how up to 9% went as high as with Biden. That's pretty scary. You think Kamala Harris, she was the tie-breaking vote in the Senate for that budget, that created this inflation. And because of there's no fracking, because he shut down Biden, first day in office, shut down the Keystone pipeline. This is why gas went through the roof. I like to see, when Trump was president, I believe it was as low as $1.10. Seeing it around $1.50, $1.60. It's $2 more now a gallon. That's scary, because and they want to go to electric cars. Well, where are you going to get this electricity from? And they want to sell out our jobs to China. They want to get rid of the middle class. They want to punish people for the excess, just raise taxes. She wants tax rates of 70, 80%. That's pretty scary. Um, she wants to make us a socialist country. Well, ask Venezuela about socialism, Argentina, those places where it's been a miserable failure. Just look at those countries. And, why isn't Kamala Harris? She isn't saying any of this at all. And how about too, where Social Security, that has to be shored up. Uh, under Trump had a plan to pay off. Everybody talks about the deficit too. Um, with Trump, if we didn't have COVID, we would have had budget surpluses. But also, how about paying off the national debt? I know Trump has had some plans to do that too. Notice that's never talked about. We got $34 trillion in debt, which future generations are going to be paying for that. Also, how about Kamala Harris on guns? She is very, very anti-Second Amendment. It's scary, and so is this Tim Walz. And they want to take away the Second Amendment. That's what it is. And instead of going after the people that use guns, they're going after the honest people. And gun laws do not stop crime. Just look at Chicago. Chicago was Washington, D.C. had a ban on handguns, so did Chicago. And Washington, D.C. was the murder capital of the country, which is scary. And I read one time, if you take out Washington, D.C., Chicago, and New Orleans, we'd be like the third safest country in the world. And think about all these countries that have strict gun laws. It's been a miserable failure. Think of all the cities and states that have strict gun laws, and crime is through the roof. And he wants to make it, Tim Walz, where if, say, you have a pistol permit in Connecticut, no other state can recognize that. That's scary. That's not going to stop the criminals. Criminals don't go out and get pistol permits. This is scary. He does want to repeal the Second Amendment. More gun laws don't work. They just make the law-abiding citizen more vulnerable to violent crime. And remember Florida in 1987, where they made it a right to carry state, and crime dropped substantially. How about where there was I forget the exact name. Read the book, John Locke, More Guns, Less Crime, where they had every household in this town in Florida own a gun, and crime dropped by 90%. And you notice too how in Europe, where you have strict gun laws, particularly the northern European countries, you see a lot of these hot burglaries, people breaking into houses. You don't see as many here in the U.S. because 50% of households own guns. And just read the book, More Guns, Less Crime. That's another thing what Tim Walz wants to do. Wants to take away our Second Amendment. Very scary. And how about all this transgender too? Allowing men to play in women's sports, which is pretty scary. What about that boxing, that Italian woman there? She had to stop it through. And if for all these far left feminists, women's rights and stuff, they should be against that. A woman is going to get killed by allowing men to play in sports. And it's pretty scary what the far left has. And the only thing they could run on is abortion. And the Supreme Court made the correct ruling about sending the issue back to the states. Obviously, I'm pro-life, so is Trump, but the issue went back to the states. I mean, if that's the only issue they have to run on, they have nothing to run on. And that's a very weak issue. And they're very desperate, the Democrats. I have a theory. They know Harris isn't going to win. Walz, they're going to just go as far left as they could. And I think deep down inside, the Democrats are just hoping it's not a bloodbath in the House and the Senate. In other words, they know they're going to lose seats in the House. They just hope they don't lose too many seats. They know they're going to lose the Senate, but they hope it's not too bad. They could keep it under 60, where the 60s where they could override the president's veto, make it veto proof. So they're hoping for that. That's what I think deep down. Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. I think Chuck Schumer and Nancy Pelosi, from what I heard, really are not happy with Harris, but they have nobody else who to go on. They have a weak bench. I was thinking Harris would also take Pritzker of Illinois, was really not that popular there as a possibility. I don't know who they have for 2028. The Republicans have a strong bench. The Democrats have a very weak bench. The theory I've heard of too is they want Harris to run, get her out of the way, and they could move on to the next, move on to 2028. Hopefully it's not a bloodbath. I predict the Republicans are going to gain houses, and they're going to gain seats in the House, gain seats, and they're going to take back the Senate. We'll have Republicans, will have the House, the Senate, and the presidency and the Supreme Court. And by the way, this idea of stacking the Supreme Court, it's like they can't win, so they change the rules. You can't win. It's like a football team. You can't beat the other team. So instead of making a field 100 yards, you got to make it 120 yards to score a touchdown. Same thing with baseball. Make it 4 strikes instead of 3 strikes. That's what they're doing here. and they're just making up the rule. They're changing the rules. That's what it is. Stack the Supreme Court, term limits on Supreme Court. Listen, lifetime appointments are a reason, so it's not supposed to be political. They're the ones that have made the Supreme Court political, and they want the Supreme Court to be another branch of government that makes. They want to make it part of the legislative branch that makes laws instead of interprets laws, and that's not the whole purpose of the Supreme Court. But this is what the left is trying to do, and there's and this is what they're, and they're also talking about making Washington D.C. a state, um, and which isn't is not going to happen, nor should, because Washington D.C. is supposed to be neutral because they're looking for another 2 senators and another representative. That's what that's all about. It's like if they can't win, so they change the rules, which is dead wrong. But I think the biggest issues right now we have to look at in this country is immigration. That's a big problem. All these illegals, 10 million. This is scary. And Trump mass deportation, seal the wall. That border was sealed when Trump was president. And by the way, you notice that the Democrats have moved so far left. I mean, going back to JFK, not that I agree everything, but he did have tax cuts. Jimmy Carter was pro-life. Clinton worked with the Republican Congress. And by the way, when the economy was good in the 90s, the Reagan tax cuts, and you had a Republican Congress, House and Senate, that cut the capital gains tax. But Clinton, not that I'm a fan of him, was willing to work with them. And then you see even Obama, to his credit, I don't like Obama, no fan of Obama, but he did deport a lot of people. He did try to make the border somewhat safe, although I'm no fan of Obama. He's just this is a third Obama term. That's all Biden is. Even Biden tried to run somewhat on a conservative, had a history of being somewhat conservative on crime and stuff, although he has a history of lying and all that. But thank God he's not running. But see, you had Joe from Scranton before. You can't say about Kamala. She's just a San Francisco elite, a San Francisco liberal. And I mean, she in Biden picked her just because I think he wanted a black female. That's what it was. But she's really not popular in the black community. I mean, Trump's up around 20-25%. Look how the reception he got in the Bronx. Even the Hispanics love Trump. Look at the reception he ended up getting in the Bronx. Was excellent. In a blue state, look at Wildwood, New Jersey, 100,000 people. The Democrats are running scared here. They are scared. And they rode this horse too long. They should have thought of a better candidate a few years back. And they're just going to try the strategy of, remember Hayden Biden? They're going to try Hayden Harris. They don't want her to speak, but what about when she has a debate with Trump? And I always tell people, don't worry. Trump's still ahead in the polls, but don't worry if you see Harris gaining. She's in her honeymoon phase. Democratic National Convention, it's the honeymoon phase. There might be a little bit of a bump. Wait till she has the debate with Trump. Trump will knock her out of the park, just like he did with Biden. And the same thing's going to happen here with the debate with Harrison. So just wait to the debate. Wait till after Labor Day, people start paying attention. And you know what? The strategy Trump has to use, and I think he's good at it, he's doing the right thing. Keep hammering away that she's a far left San Francisco liberal, immigration, fracking. She wants to take away energy jobs. She wants to put the energy oil and gas companies out of business, wants to put coal miners out of business. This is scary. How about our military, too, about our foreign issues, all these wars around the world? And, we could be dangerously close to a third world war, another nuclear war. That's pretty scary. And there's endless wars in the Ukraine. When Trump was president, you didn't see this. Iran was broke when Trump was president. Now they're a threat. And another scary part is Harris and Walz being very anti-Semitic, being very anti-Israel, which is dangerous because that's our best ally over there, our only ally at this point. And she's losing the Jewish vote, thankfully. And Israel's our best ally over there and the only ally we have. And another thing, Russia and China, we have to watch. Actually, China doesn't have to do anything military. I mean, they're going to beat us economically, although China has economic problems themselves. So does Russia. And you notice, too, when these countries weren't a threat when Trump was in office, too. And also what's going on with Mexico, fentanyl coming into this country, coming from China originally. I don't see Eddie Harris talking about any of these issues. Well, what is she running on? What accomplishments could she say? I mean, is the economy any better? She's still blaming Trump. Trump's been out of office 4 years. How are you still blaming him? The economy was in great shape when he left. The world was in great shape. Our military, um, how you what accomplishments does she have to run on? And Walsh, what accomplishments in Minnesota does he have to run on? Um, and he's very scary, a far left. It was a big mistake in taking her. And I think the American people see through this, and we have to make sure that he does not get elected in November. I'm sorry, that Trump gets elected in November, that she does not get elected in November. Neither does Tim Walz, too. Make sure the Republicans control Congress, make sure the Republicans get the Senate back, and it's Trump 2024. Vote Trump Vance 2024. And what's scary, too, is also, by the way, this lawfare that's going on at the convention. Peter Navarro spoke about it. And I like how he said, I did the time so you wouldn't have to do the time. And that's pretty scary what they did to him. And about putting him in the jail where he had immunity. And you notice, by the way, Merrick Garland is being held in contempt of Congress. Where's the Department of Injustice? Where are they on all this? Why don't they prosecute him? How about Eric Holder, too? You don't hear about that. Hopefully, when Trump gets office, we'll do this. And I know, Trump, you want to bring the country together or anything, but the Democrats should not be getting away with breaking the law. And that's an issue that has to be worked on. But right now, we have the Department of Injustice under Merrick Garland, which is pretty scary. Just because you disagree with some of his views, you use the power of the government to go after you. How about the FBI agents I heard being at school board meetings because the parents don't want this far liberalism that's going on. And by the way, I like Trump's idea of school vouchers. There should be a voucher school choice. I believe it will revitalize many cities in the country. But you should have a choice of school voucher, school choice. And I like to see the private sector more involved with our education system. And also, by the way, how the Democrats keep pushing. How about Mike Rowe? Who I love, is pushing for the trades. Everybody goes to college. Well, what about the trades? You need, like I said, electricians, carpenters, plumbers, painters. I have brothers electrician does well, and other people in the fields. I know a guy painter does well, carpenters, plumbers, HVAC people. We need these people. We do not have these people. We don't have enough people in the trades, and we need them. And I mean, go see what a plumber charges you and things like that. They make very good money. They make a good living. How about our energy here? We have liquid gold, like Trump says. We have liquid gold in this country. We have a lot of. We were energy independent when Trump was president. We weren't dependent on Iran. We weren't dependent on Russia, and us buying oil from Russia, Iran. You're just helping those countries. That's all. We could boycott them economically, hit them that way without going to war. And we have liquid gold, plenty of energy, plenty of job creation in this country. We're energy independent. We could sell oil to other countries, make them dependent on us instead of us dependent on them. That's what we should be doing. Instead of us depending on other countries and in funding Iran, funding Russia, which is pretty scary. We got plenty of energy here. Let's use that. Ask Kamala Harris that. Make us all electric. I've heard want to make our military electric. Yeah, so China uses gas and oil for their vehicles. We use electric. We're at a disadvantage. When you make our jets electric, we're at a huge disadvantage to that. We need to make us energy independent. Electric vehicles, people want to buy them. I have no problem, but don't force it down our throat. They want to outlaw our energy gas powered vehicles. That's very scary. I want a gas vehicle. You want electric, that's fine, but just don't force it down our throat. This is the problem with left, the liberals. They don't want to live with you. They want to take over, which is very, very, very scary. Just a couple other things I do want to touch on. I'm friends. I know Angela Gotti. She does has an excellent show on here, by the way. A couple things that she was talking about last night. I feel bad that her family was under attack by this guy, Gene Borello, who was a rat, by the way. He was an informant, and it attacked the Gotti family. That's very dangerous. And John Gotti Jr., for the record, is not a rat, not an informant, never put anybody in jail. 4 trials, that's dead wrong. There you go. Once again, the Department of Injustice going after somebody allegedly that's part of an organization. That's scary. And they agreed at one time not to prosecute him continually back in 1999. But after 1999, they tried him 4 times. It was a hung jury many times. I know some people on here said, oh, what he did, this and that. Well, look, the people testifying against him. Zero credibility, and the juries saw through it. Thank God for these jurors. They saw through it that, John A. Light, these guys were rats. And that's wrong. They should have never been prosecuted. But there's another example of John Gotti Jr. is a victim of Department of Injustice. Peter Navarro, look at Donald Trump, what they did too with lawfare. What they did to the Gotti family, they're doing to the Trump family. Thank God for the Supreme Court to kick in. But, and then to use people that have committed other crimes when they didn't even commit an alleged crime with this group, but they committed other crimes. So they get out of trouble. They squeal on other people. I have a major problem with informants and rats. They want to rat on somebody to get out of trouble. All it does is encourages people to commit crimes. And I was at the John Gotti Jr. trial, the last one. I saw how John A. Light was lying. He said that on the night he was involved with the Castellano hit, which wasn't true. He wasn't even a made guy. He wasn't in John Sr.'s crew. That's not even true. So he got caught in a lie there. Then there was some story about John Gotti Sr. told somebody to step down in the family as a consigliere, which wasn't true. He couldn't do that because he wasn't a made guy. So this is the lies that are being told out there. I also like the show, that MRE from Rhode Island, from Connecticut. He's from Rhode Island. Great show. If you're listening out there, MRE, you have a great show. So does Angela Gotti. Let's talk about the rats, the informants, about how these people are very dangerous. And, they could get away with committing crimes. I mean, Samuel Bull got away with 19 murders out in Arizona. He's on here, YouTube. And Samuel Bull, what about that kid in Brooklyn that was killed? Forgot his name right off the top of my head. Alan, I'm trying to remember the guy's name. I'm sorry, it'll come to me. He was a 16-year-old child that was killed. That was not part of the life. That never gets talked about too. And the government let him get away with that, killing a 16-year-old, which is pretty scary. And I wonder how many other people out there where they go in a witness protection program. And with the WITSEC program, I like what John Gotti Jr. says. They go in these programs and then they commit crimes again. And Joey Merlino, too, I give him credit on that, where he's brought that out, too, where these people commit crimes and these people, they go into the WITSEC programs and they continue to commit crimes, which is pretty scary. And funny how that never gets talked about. And I wonder how many crimes these people that they commit that the government doesn't say. I wonder how many things that the government doesn't want to bring out. And, that should be talked about too. And Joey Merlino, he did his time like a man. John Jr. did his time like a man. And I both give him credit on that. And, this idea of, well, you'll get out of trouble as long as you're rat. That's just encouraging these people to commit crimes. And then when they get a second chance, they all commit crimes again. I mean, Henry Hill was in trouble many times. So that's pretty scary. And what I don't like about the RICO laws, it's selective prosecution. And there's no statute of limitations on RICO. And there's to a point where this has been said on here too by a few people, that they could sentence you to, in other words, if you were found not guilty on a crime, or you weren't convicted of a crime, a judge could take that into account. Say, well, you were prosecuted for a crime, but you weren't convicted. But on another crime, a judge could take that into account, even though you were acquitted on that other crime, or you're found not guilty, or you weren't even prosecuted. yet a judge could take that into account when he sentences you for another crime, which is pretty scary. And in the RICO laws, there's no statute of limitations on it. They go back many years, which is pretty scary. And that's not how our legal system should be done. But I want to finish up here. This is Jason Carlasio. I have to go here. Vote Trump Vance 2024. I'll be back. Tune into Angel Gotti show when she's on. Also tune into MRE. Some very great shows. Have a nice day. We'll be in touch.